Okay, I'd like to call to order the curriculum committee meeting for April 24th, 25. Let it be known that all committee members are here. Katie Dosler, Joan Ensign, board member Dawn, and myself. Tim Shell's here, and we have a committee of teachers here, which we'll introduce when they come up. Approval of the agenda, please.
So moved. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. I don't believe we have any public comments, so that takes us to item number 5, textbook approval.
Thank you, Mark. So what you have here is a slightly updated version of what we would have seen at our informational presentation last month. So the two things that are new are we've circled back to clarify with teachers, is this replacement text? Is this an addition we've been using for a few different series, and this is just the newest version on the regular cycle to make sure we've got contemporary materials, or is this a brand new resource we haven't used before? And so, you know, in terms of things that are actually new resources, those would be the Amplify ELA for the intermediate school. That would be the Amplify Mathematics for the intermediate middle school, and also I had shared with you last month that Algebra 1 at the high school is looking at Amplify. They've agreed to try it next year and then make a more permanent decision after they've run with it for a year. So it's going to be the same resource. It's for their course the same family of curriculum that is being adopted in intermediate middle school, because the one you'd use for high school algebra. Okay. Other than that, the only other one that is a brand new resource is the one Karina Rogers is requesting for AP Government and Politics. The resource we had previously used, author team had kind of circled out, and so she did a review, and this is a new text for us, but it is on the approved list for this AP course. And again, one thing I think Amy and I shared with you last month, but I want to kind of highlight here, is, you know, you may be wondering, you know, why the intermediate school ELA, you know, can be almost 50,000, and we're buying for 2 schools for mathematics at 73. And what's going on there is, and it's in the note, is from an adoption standpoint, this is a 7-year adoption, but from a purchasing standpoint, you've probably noticed as we brought this information forward, Amplify from 6th grade up can be all digital, or it can be a hybrid of digital with paper resources. Now, Amplify from 5th grade on down, there's no all digital option. So 5th grade math and 5th grade ELA from the beginning have to be blended purchases. But what we're doing with the Amplify Math is we're doing a 1-year subscription to see, do we want to stay for the long haul with the hybrid, or maybe look at a digital. So we're proving it as the resource, but from a budgetary standpoint, we'll come back next year to you with a 6-year budget ask.
This is really just a 1-year
purchase. So we're just, the decision we've made in our minds is a 7-year decision to use the resource, but because it's available in 2 different configurations, we're buying the first year, even though a 1-year rate is higher than a multi-year rate, because the teachers felt like they really wanted a chance to see it in hybrid. I mean, you can always buy it in hybrid for a year and then try units all digital. But if we were to commit to a 7-year hybrid, we might be over purchasing because hybrid's more expensive. But we don't also want to assume digital, because there's some things that may work, emphasis on may work better for the kids with the workbook.
Do they currently,
So, okay, go ahead.
I'm sorry. What do they currently, are they 100% digital now in 7th and 8th grade?
So the Go Math resource looks different in different schools.
Okay.
In general, in intermediate, it's hybrid. At the middle school, it's been digital. Now, with digital, with a lot of these resources, you get PDFs that if you want to as a teacher, you can print it out. Those aren't always directly the same as the workbook. I mean, a typical thing we notice is sometimes the purchased workbooks in a hybrid purchase have more white space compared to the PDF printout. So if you're looking for spaces for, I mean, there's space there for kids to show their work. That's the whole point of printing out the PDF, but it usually is a little less than you might see in the actual workbook.
Thank you.
So, just to clarify.
Yes.
The 5-8 math, that price reflects the extra 2 grades added to it compared to the 5-6 ELA.
Yes.
Would that be correct?
That is correct.
Okay, and when you say paper, I apologize, my hearing doesn't pick everything up. I'm assuming that's consumables?
Yes.
Okay. And so, if they were going to go digital with Amplify, that would mean all the reading would be electronic reading versus out of a book, is that correct?
So, not entirely.
Well, I know they have a literature series as well, but.
Right, but I mean, what you can do is you have when you go digital, you do have PDFs you can print out, but it's not presented as, the amount of space and the way it's put together is not as, I would say, probably smooth as you might see in the purchase workbook. Otherwise, nobody would ever buy the hybrid. You'd always just kind of print out of your
Sure.
PDFs. But you know, just because you're using the hybrid, you also still have all the benefits of the digital. So you can adjust the size, you can get more embedded language support and things like that. So that's all there,
Okay,
but you get the consumable,
okay,
which costs.
right, yep,
So,
okay, thank you.
yeah.
And do they make this in like the old-fashioned textbook?
No, they do not.
No.
No.
So textbooks really are,
For this level, yes. For high school, no. So for example, if you were to look at Stephanie Kirker's biology for the AP course, it's an update to the new edition, it's hybrid, but that is really truly, I mean, that textbook is a hardcover
okay,
textbook.
yeah.
You see that more in high school, but at the middle level, you're really looking at consumables for
Yeah.
things like this.
All right.
So, we need a motion,
Motion to approve?
Second,
all in favor?
aye.
Thank you very much. The next item we have are the summer curriculum project requests. And one thing I want to update you on since we were together last is Amy and I worked with some of our other programs, and I'd say, you know, in particular, working with Lisa John with Student Services to identify which of these were more SEL based, would come out of her budget, which would be things that would come out of the EL budget. We also did make some reductions. In the end, we made fewer reductions than we anticipated we were going to make a month ago at this time, simply because of clarifications we got from working with Steve and Allie just around our expected carryover. So, you know, the level of curriculum writing like last year is elevated compared to what we typically see, and that's due to 2 things really. One is that you will see there are some items in here from the middle school in particular that reference the new schedule. Now that we've been in a year, there's some updates we want to make. Science and world language are 2 that I can definitely remember off the top of my head. The other thing that's in there is that you know, the single biggest item here is time for the middle school and intermediate school math teams to work on getting all set for the school year with the newly adopted math material. So I would expect next year we don't have the scale of math material adoptions we've seen the last few years. Middle school schedules in its third year of implementation, a year out from now. So you're not going to see it at this level forever, but we do have the resources, including our carryover, to satisfy this.
Any questions?
So I see some of the training is done by the company
Yes.
for the math program.
Right, so what we see happening with the math program, we're going to have a trainer come in the morning of May 19th, which is our final staff development day of the year, and we'll actually have a few amplified trainers in the district because they'll be working with
Cross-grade level.
ELA,
Yeah.
cross-grade levels, and we'll have ELA trainers and then math trainers. They'll be back in August for another half day, and then we'll be bringing in some coaching type visits from some of their expert implementers in the fall.
So they're done on our regular PD days.
Those will
They're
happen on the
not
PD days. What's in
summer.
here is I'm sitting down as a course team, and all of these resources have a lot of options for you. So how are you going to pace your units? You have more assessments in the resource than you could actually implement with a class. So which assessments are we planning to use this year? Doesn't mean you're going to use them in year 2, but for year 1, what's our plan? I mean, Joan, to circle back to your question, with where is the hardbound tech, there are a lot of advantages with these new digitally based materials, but that also means the editor's discipline of this textbook isn't going over 420 pages is out the window, because if there's something that might be potentially useful to a student like this or a student like that, and you can design it well, it's going into the digital package, which is great,
Right.
because you've got a very complete toolbox. But the challenge then for the instructor team is which ones are we actually going to use, and which ones are we going to say, well, I've got a student who's struggling in this, or I've got a student who speaks this language and needs something leveled down. They need time to do that, and that's what these hours are for.
Would board members be welcome at the training session to get a glimpse of what's happening?
I
If
think,
anyone wishes to,
I
yeah.
think so, yeah. I mean, I ask for, so for example, Lisa Carruthers and Kristen Thomason are going to make some changes to just tweak modern lit a little bit. I mean, Lisa's taught it forever, but Kristen's new,
Right.
so her teaching partners change. So, as a result, I will know what date they're proposing for that.
No.
Oh, no,
I'm talking about the Amplify on May
Right.
19th.
Well, yes, so I might not go into an English one that's a
Yeah.
one day like that, but for something major like the Amplify, I would plan to drop in. And
Okay.
it would be certainly fine if you wanted to drop in and see what was going on.
Yeah, with the
You're
new
more than-
program
you're more
going
than
in, it
welcome
just
to.
would be helpful
Yeah.
if some have an interest.
Yeah, I'll know the dates, and if you have an interest, let me
Okay.
know, and we can make you aware of the time and location.
Good. Any other questions?
I had a question about, I noticed that there's a lot of requests for AP English, not a lot of requests, but there's consistently requests for AP English, English 9, English 10. And I know at one point, and maybe you could just refresh my memory, but we kind of talked about, I don't know if this is the right word, but
Mhm.
vertical alignment.
Vertical alignment, yeah.
I don't know if that's the right term, but I think it is, to ensure that, there's a build. And I'm just wondering if that has already been done, or if that's part of this, if that is going to be included, because I know that we revamped 7th and 8th grade, and part of that was the advanced English and the alignment, vertical alignment with that class.
I think the English 10, from what I saw, that's part of that, because Romeo and Juliet is being taught in the middle school now,
Right.
and so that they're looking at what to replace that and perhaps other pieces of literature to make that vertical alignment.
Okay.
English, yeah, exactly right. So there's some vertical alignment changes with texts. There also are some skill areas. I mean, this year, the English department, 712, put a lot of emphasis on discussion and speaking and listening, and how that progresses vertically. But I think part of what you're seeing is, of all the content areas, when I think about the content area that faces some of the biggest challenges for social factors beyond the teacher's control in the classroom, I would say English is where it's at. And we see it in two different areas. One, and it's really driven by the kind of leisure media and social media kids take in these days. We see two things that are in a very different place today with adolescents than they would have been even 10 years ago. And that would be conventions of standardized English, grammar usage mechanics, which I don't think you really see a lot in here, but that is something we continue to have conversations on in secondary English. The other one is independent reading and kind of a culture of reading, and so we're trying to find ways that are meaningful but engaging to get kids to be more independent readers. And you'll notice in here we have one or two projects that are related to making sure that Mark in his classroom, me and my, that we are being consistent in those experiences, but we are definitely trying to get creative, and we hope purposefully creative in ways to build in our adolescents more interest in reading. I mean, one thing we've done today, and it's our ed tech specialists that are here, it's not our library media specialist, but Chris Sheeman at the high school, in conjunction with English 10 team, is been engaged in these lessons, and Courtney's seen these. It's been book speed dating. So the class will come in, you'll have tables by genre, and kids cycle through on a clock. And the goal is at the end of the lesson, they pick a book to check out and read. So we're trying different things, and you're seeing a bit of that.
Okay. I was just curious because I know that was an initiative, or that was something that we were emphasized as an area of opportunity for improvement. And so I was just curious if that was included, although it wasn't necessarily articulated in their descriptions. But
yeah, it's a big area of improvement for us. The English department's also in the first year of their curriculum renewal.
Okay.
And so you'll be seeing documents.
Okay.
The board will be seeing in about 2 years
For the high
curriculum
school?
renewal. 7-12.
7.
Yeah.
One more question.
Yeah.
When you look at the scope of projects presented, and I see full course revisions for 40 hours, but then I saw one, I can't remember which one it was, like it was just a unit revision, 70 hours. I mean, how do you monitor the amount of time appropriate for the project that's being proposed?
Yeah, so we have and I don't have a copy.
Before you answer that, because I'd just like to add some data, because that was a key question I had. And I'm just concerned that people aren't getting the hours they ask for when maybe they should be asking for more hours, because
Right, a whole
I've got
revision.
one academic area that has 4 people for 50 hours, and then I have the same area but a different class in that area, 4 people for 70 hours. Another where I have 2 staff members for 40 hours, and a similar class, 1 person for 40 hours. And do you have a scale where, okay, an update gets this, a review gets this, or is it strictly based upon the conservancy or liberal assessment, the more aggressive assessment for hours? Because it seems some people are doing the same kind of work, but only getting half the pay for it.
Yeah, that's a great question. So, and I don't have the document right here, but we do have a document, and there are 3 variables. One is it a new course or a revision? So revisions are less, new courses are more. Is it a 1-semester course versus a full year course? And you can, and then we have a multiplier, and I think it's like an additional 25% per additional staff member, that as the team gets larger, it builds off the base. And so all of these do that. However, these are happening in the summer. So say your max on the multiplier is 70 hours for the project. But when you talk about it as a team, you realize we're not going to be able to schedule that amount of time, and you ask for 50. I am not going to ask you to raise it unless I see something really off.
Okay.
And this year I had one team, and it was their, this is actually, both instructors on the team are fairly new to the district.
Yep.
It was their first time asking. It was just way too long. And it was too long. And in the course of talking to the lead teacher on it, he had just put in the hour per person versus the total number of hours. So he was rolled by a multiplier, and we fixed that. And they were asking under what they could have asked anyways, but that was all the time they could make their schedules to commit.
Okay.
So yes, we have a model, and
Okay.
sometimes people under ask because they can't schedule the time.
Okay.
And we check with them
Yep.
on that. And if we find that they really just had a
Okay.
big miss, we work with
I
them.
appreciate your input.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. And that's why I just to kind of look ahead, you haven't asked this question, but we have a long lead time on this. We put these, this is all coming off a Google form. We open this up in the fall. We ask that it be submitted by the end of January,
Okay.
where we think we should see things, we haven't seen things. We spend early February connecting with people, I'll just say. And then Amy and I go through that whole process of sorting the numbers out,
Yep.
triaging. So it's a very long lead time. We do see one change happening next year. It's not going to really affect the lead time, but when you as a board approve the academic goal for next year, which is a multi-year goal,
Right.
we anticipate, and I realize different content areas it's going to connect differently, but the form next year will ask people to explain how their proposal relates to their school improvement plan or the district goal.
Good.
Just so we're trying to create
Right,
greater
right.
greater alignment.
Perfect.
So,
And that goes along with, I think, the last meeting we had, Dr. Brown asked about the impact,
yeah.
how we're measuring impact. So I think that's a really great adjustment. It's good.
Thank you.
Good. Okay, those are all my questions.
Okay.
Um,
Motion to approve.
Second?
All in
Or-
favor?
Okay.
Aye.
Aye.
Perfect.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And so now we are into our instructional
Educational
technology
support
presentation.
staff.
And I will invite our amazing ed tech specialist group up here. And so you've heard, we are blessed in this district, and I want to say to you as board members and to our community who may be listening, thank you for the support. Strong library media and instructional technology programs are vital. And a lot of districts, it's the first thing to get trimmed. And we are fortunate, but I also want to make it clear, this is not a frill, because these professionals work very hard, and they provide great opportunities for our kids and teachers, and also they really are the spark plugs for a lot of innovation in the district. So having an ed tech specialist per school, particularly since we've gone one-to-one, and having a full-time library media specialist per school, you don't see everywhere, but it does make a difference in the opportunities our kids experience. So you've heard a lot from us about AI. We realized in the course of doing our prep for these AI presentations that we haven't really connected with you as a board around non-AI instructional technology in a long time, and there's a lot that's important. And so that's why this group is in, and I just handed the main clicker over to Cassie Roberts. And Cassie, I'm going to ask you to lead off an introduction down the table, and then the floor is yours.
Thank you so much, Jim. And thanks for having us today. We're excited to talk about all of the awesome things that we've been doing over the last couple of years and into the future. So I am Cassie Roberts. I am the Ed Tech Specialist at Prairie Elementary, and I'm also one of the co-chairs of our department.
I'm Megan Nelson. I am at Arboretum.
My name is Jake Swanson. I'm the Ed Tech at Heritage.
I'm Amy Frank, and I'm at the intermediate school. Alec Kartz over at the middle school.
I'm Courtney Lovell, I'm at the high school. And just before we begin, we did add a QR code to the presentation up here as well as a bit.ly link on the bottom if you'd like to pull it up now, otherwise it will be shared as well.
All right, so we just wrapped up introductions. We're going to talk about the structure of our EdTech teaching. We'll preview our K-5 curriculum.
Actually, Jake is probably the better one to
Okay,
Responsibilities.
pass it along. Oh, it's
And the
down
mouse,
there.
the mouse might be
The whole-
coming.
The whole, tech team it takes. All six of
Somebody
us,
unplugged it.
all 6 of us to do.
I think just the mouse will do it, but I'm gonna.
Yeah.
just
Probably
back
such
up.
old technology. You guys.
There we go.
There we go, now we're in business.
All right.
We're sorry to be old-fashioned here.
Sure. We'll talk about the structure of our EdTech teaching, our K-5 curriculum. We'll preview that. We'll talk about different projects that we work on throughout the year, professional development opportunities that we offer up for staff throughout the year as well, and then next steps.
So we kind of, like we mentioned, wear 2 hats. We're that working with kids and that impact that goes along with that, as well as how we teach our teachers through our integration to then give some impact on our kids as well. So since we've added, this is going into our 3rd year of curriculum with the actual kids within the Encore rotation. So we alternate with the wellness class, and depending on and this will be for K-5. So we alternate at the elementary school, mornings 1 rotation and then afternoons the other rotation, so that we are teaching at every rotation but still have that ability to integrate with teachers and do all of the other things that we need to do. So at the intermediate school, you do rotation by rotation, correct? So slightly different just because of the scheduling at the intermediate school for 5th grade, and then 6th grade is not officially in the Encore rotation, but it is more of a collaboration and a push-in schedule to some of the classes, and then collaborating with whatever grade level team or even Encore that they want to do. Generally, we have about 15 lessons with the kids for the year, so we try and do as much impact as we can in those 15 lessons. We have vertically aligned our K-5 curriculum with both the ITL standards for Wisconsin and the ISTE standards, which they're pretty similar, and we will see as some of these standards are going to get updated. We'll do some review as well to see how we can incorporate some of those new things, and hopefully there will be some AI standards along with that. We also do have time to push into classrooms if we need extra extensions for some of those lessons, or if there's requests from the classroom teachers, those kinds of things. If there's new skills or new things on their devices, we can do that as well, in addition to that. And then with the PLC work that we've been implementing and working with some of those trainers, we have been introducing the CFAs into our space as well, and we'll most likely continue that as we go on.
CFAs being?
Common formative assessments. It looks a little different in our space, but it was helpful to have some of those experts to help us with that Encore type situation with our CFAs, because it looks a little different than the classrooms.
In our presentation, there's videos throughout, so we kind of just skipped over one, but if you want to go back later and watch.
Okay, so our curriculum, we meet every summer because each year the kindergartners go to 1st grade, so because of that movement we have to change our curriculum every year because they have more tech skills as they come up. So that's why we put in for summer curriculum hours, but our basic topics are digital citizenship, internet safety. We work a lot with Google. We're a Google district, so we're teaching them a lot of Google stuff. We're Googly. We teach them how to navigate and explore digital tools. We do introduce AI. We do multimedia stuff like stop motion animation, green screen technology. We do some 3D design with our 3D printers. We use some Google tools. Our kids get some exposure to Adobe tools. We do a lot of coding and robotics. And we have maker spaces in our buildings.
So we did link this in, and Megan's going to talk a little bit about that as well. We linked in the curriculum. It doesn't give you access to all of the presentations, but it gives kind of an overview, so if you want to go and explore that later, you can.
So this does show K through 5th grade, and I'm going to talk a little bit about kindergarten and 1st grade, some of the lessons that we do with them. Keeping in mind, this is their first time. A lot of the kids have used iPads before when they come in from kindergarten, but we also have those families that haven't used any iPads. So we kind of talk about an iPad pledge where they promise to take care of their iPad, to only use it when their teacher says, so some of those types of things. We talk about trusted adults. We show them how to navigate educational websites or apps and how to problem solve. Like if your headphones aren't working, just those little things they have to learn how to problem solve. We also do original graphics, and then you get to use a stylus and they practice drawing. We then do a whole long unit on coding and sequencing and loops. And we also use codable mice with them as well. And then we also started an AI lesson this year, so an introduction to what AI is if they hear that. And then we do makerspace stations with our K-1 students.
Once we get into that second grade level, that's kind of that bridge of some skills from the first grade and some that bridge into the other one. And like we said before, as we're building it, we're seeing more competency as we go through and change some of those lessons. So we do similar with right now they have iPads in second grade, so we continue that iPad pledge up and do some more more in depth with some of the trusted adults and how they problem solve on both the iPads, and later in the year we do introduce Chromebooks. The AI lesson that we started in second grade now is teaching them how we train the AI and how there's some bias in there and how it doesn't always do what you want it to do, and kind of bridging that into that sort of that basic ethics of AI as well as how it works. We do stop motion as our multimedia in second grade. We use some apps on there to do some, they get to choose what they would like to record and make their videos, as long as, and seeing how to edit and do that kind of thing. We also do a really long coding unit as well, and start getting into more in-depth loops, some of those nested loops, as well as some, the robots for some of the kids.
And that takes us up to third and fourth grade where they're on their Chromebooks. We really try to utilize some of those skills that they learned in second grade, so that introduction, when they get their Chromebooks in third grade, it's not brand new in front of them. So we go over the acceptable use policy with their Chromebooks and how that's different from the iPad versus the Chromebook. We do go over digital citizenship, personal versus private information. Then we really start going into Google Suite or the Google Workspace, introducing docs and slides. We do work on AI as well. As Cassie mentioned, we're in the process of updating or working on our AI lessons. So also that machine-based learning and trying to train the AI. From there, we do work on our green screen projects, either creating posters or bookmarks that students take their picture in front of, and then we put them into their bookmark. It's something that they can take with them. From there, then we work on coding. And similar to fourth grade, same kinds of ideas, just reinforcing those Google Suites and Google Workspace apps and tools. But our big project in fourth grade then is 3D design, which involves our 3D printers. So we work on keychains where students are able to use Tinkercad to design a keychain that we can print and then take home with them as well by the end of the year. And then that takes us through coding and through the end of the year.
And then in fifth grade, this is the first year that they actually take their Chromebooks back and forth between school and charge them. So we also do a device like intro and kind of pledge contract. We do set passwords. They get to pick their own passwords. So we learn about password security, and we go on a field trip to the network closet and learn about like how the internet works. So they get to see all the wires and things like that. They love that, which is weird.
Can we get that too?
Yeah. It is like a 5x5 space. It's so tiny. It's funny that they love it. Yeah. Yeah,
That's a good one.
This is how the network works. They learn about the network. They do. Our big project that we start kind of in the middle of the year is they all get to pick they write a bunch of questions about AI. They pick one of those questions to research about artificial intelligence. So I have some kids doing like self-driving cars, and I have some kids doing like how AI is used in hospitals. I have one kid doing how AI helps people with special needs. So they get to pick what they want to do. So they research their topic, Then we make a green screen picture with a background where they use AI essentially to remove the background of the picture and have a cool background and then themselves. And then we write a script, and then they create a podcast using a software program called Adobe Podcast, which actually uses AI because the kids can like take out all the ums that they say. They just highlight it and hit delete and they all go away. So that is AI. So it's teaching them about AI. They're using a little bit of AI, but they're also researching about AI. And then they listen to each other's podcasts. So they have an audience, a built-in audience, which is nice. So they get to learn from each other. So yeah, 15 lessons isn't a lot, but luckily we do get to integrate into different areas in the curriculum, which is the next slide.
So at the K-4 level, we do, like we said, alternate with wellness. So we do have space to come in and do various projects. So we'll go through a couple of those on this slide.
Sure. So starting off, it's Heritage News. So it is our student announcements that are created every rotation, so it's every day one. We have every grade level represented in those student announcements. We work on second step, so we use second grade for that. Our lead anchors are the third graders or fourth graders, or the weather broadcasters. We use first graders to, once the year kind of goes on, they share important facts or nonfiction facts for our holiday that we're talking about that day, whether it's a silly holiday or an actual kind of holiday. But besides that, we also utilize student artwork in the background, so it's not just a newsroom, but just showcasing student artwork. And then also this year we incorporated music that they created within music class to introduce our student announcements. Beyond that, this year we received a grant from the WAFE organization, which is a hydroponic flex farm. So I am in the process of trying to set up and maintain that for students and staff to enjoy different lettuce varieties and herbs. So it's definitely a work in progress, but it's very exciting. Last but not least, working with social emotional learning, video production. So the beginning of the year, especially with Heritage being brand new, working on different expectations, but then also SEL in 60 seconds. So it's just a short kind of video for staff to learn on different SEL topics.
The next one, the STEAM stations. So sometimes we do those at recess times, or we offer times that classroom teachers can come into our spaces and use our rooms with some of the materials that we have. We also do breakout EDU, which are escape rooms, and sometimes we partner with teachers, sometimes we partner with library techs as well to kind of do some of that. It's a little bit higher, so we kind of do that with 3rd and 4th grade. We also wrote a grant a couple years ago to get Lego coding kits. So we have about 8 of those. And about 3 or 4 kids can work in a group to design something that's created with Legos, and then they code it to move. So like an example on the board, they created a car and coded it to move. So they really enjoy that. At Arboretum, we also do a video news. We really give that opportunity to 3rd graders as something to be the hosts. So each month, a different news team will go around the school, ask questions, and then we help, a 3rd grade teacher and I help put the video together. But they interview all kids and people throughout the school.
And just like above, a lot of these things apply to all of us, but we do makerspace clubs, STEAM clubs, those kind of things, depending on what the needs are for our students, for our teachers, what they request. We do also do some co-teaching lessons. I know we help initiate the keyboarding launch at the beginning of the year to kind of go through and help monitor and make sure the kids are in their home row positions and really help the teachers get that launched out for the rest of the year. Things with book reader, I know our 4th graders right now are doing country projects, and so making sure they're able to do the tech side of things so the teachers can help with the content and the writing side of things, and we kind of all put it together. So just lots of things in our K through 4 space.
Sorry.
It's an example of the news movie. Yeah. Oh, music that goes with their news.
Love it.
So I have been lucky to be in this position for 7 years. Before that, I was a 6th grade teacher in the district. So there's some projects that people actually, I did with them, but they continue to do them. So those aren't on here. Like I know my 5th grade science teachers all do, they have the kids graph their derby car data, so that's something that they just continue to do. But these are things that are kind of newer. Because they're getting so much coding instruction, before they come to me, we bumped up and we no longer are doing like code.org. We're doing Bitsbox now. We did have a lot of kids participate though in the Hour of Code Music Jam. The WAVE grant purchased some Apple pencils, or it might have been curriculum, I can't remember. But my art teacher and I work a lot together. She does some iPad art using Apple pencils, so they did some radial symmetry. You can see a kiddo with a picture of that. And we do 3D printing, both for 5th and 6th grade. In science, they do infographics on robotics, so they're using Adobe for that. In 5th grade, or 6th grade, we do a robotics station. We usually do that right before Christmas break, so it gives them something fun to do before they and they're so well behaved usually during that time, which is great. So we do that around Christmas time to give everyone exposure. We have a lot of robots in our building. Because the 5th grade curriculum does robotics, we have purchased a lot of robots through the years. And for that reason, we are, I think that's further down, we are doing a 5th grade tech day coming up where we're gonna have different stations. The whole 5th grade is gonna be doing different stations throughout the day. So they'll be doing stop motion and doing a field trip to learn about how Amazon fulfills orders at their factory, things like that. So there's a lot of cool things there. We also do breakout EDUs, so one that I'm doing next week is for civil rights. So kids work together to break out of boxes. I use Minecraft a lot in my building for AI lessons. In social studies, they made some trenches for World War I. In 6th grade, they did some really cool volume activities with Minecraft. We use green screen all the time in music, we've used it in Spanish, the kids are using it in my class. And then I have a club that's really a busy club. They're called the SWAT team, Students Working to Advance Technology. They put out the Teachers Don't Just Teach videos. If you go to our website and check out the About Us part, you can see all the videos. They help with class, the yearbooks. We do class pictures in the yearbooks. Those have been on social media also. We came over to Heritage and did some power washing before Forward, which was great. They take pictures during our spirit days. They help out classes with fun projects that use text. We've done a video about media balance for the all-school assembly. We're actually going to Google next week downtown to learn about how they use tech in their job. And we also help with the art show. We take pictures of families with their artwork, the student artwork behind them. So it's using green screen technology. We also do announcements, but mine are bi-weekly. It's when our school does all-school assembly, so it's the week that they don't have all-school assembly. I have students create the Waunakee News Flash with me.
When did you start the SWAT? Was it like 2019, 2020?
I started it my first year, so those kids are seniors this year.
Okay, because I would say that I remember specifically during 2020, like during COVID.
Yeah, they were busy.
They were busy. And I think it's so cool because I see a lot of those same kids that were really active with you doing that are now very active in Warrior Media.
Oh.
And so I just think it's
That's
really
cool.
cool
That's
that we
cool.
had an introductory and now I see it. I think it's cool that you're doing the newsroom stuff.
Yeah.
Like, that just is such a build.
So the Google field trip is a newer thing. Nick Kidd is a parent in our district and he works at Google, and I had his oldest son was a SWAT teamer a couple of years ago, but the seniors that were my SWAT team, I only had like 6 of them. Now I have like 20 something. Those 6 I invited to go with us to Google. So some of the seniors are going with us to Google on the field trip, which is kind of neat. So
That's cool.
these bigger kids will be with my littler kids at Google. Oh, that's in the corner. Yeah, it's using stop motion animation. So that's an example of stop motion.
Over at the middle school, I think it's a little bit different. Both me and
Really?
I think me and Courtney have like much more similar roles. I stole some of her homework on the next slide, so there'll be some repeats there. But I don't see I don't have classes myself, so that's a big difference between the 2 roles. And so I put together some of the things that we do both at the middle school and the high school there. I think we mentioned it on a different slide as well, is like test administration and all we're testing kids a lot. You probably already know that, but that's a lot of time that it takes to get all that ready, to yeah, we're finishing up forward testing window right now, and it just takes a lot of time to get all that prepped, and it's hard to kind of quantify it in a bullet point on a slideshow, but it was something I wanted to highlight.
But it is a quantity.
Yes, for sure. I think another big part, and it's probably on another slide as well, that we have IT techs that work in our building half-time, and they do a lot of help with that as well. But days they're not here, and even days when they are here, we're the front lines in solving teachers and students' tech issues. So a teacher's screen stopped working. Like, we're on the phone, we're right there, we're trying to get that back, and like, teaching's not happening right there. So I'm trying to get them, students coming in all the time with different, a lot of times easier fixes, but a lot of that is day-to-day work, is just getting kids back in class, getting them learning, getting teachers back to teaching and getting them learning as well. At the middle school and the high school, we're using a lot of different platforms. The kids are a little more self-sufficient, but we're using tools a little bit more. So one of them, FlexiSchedule, is a tool that we use for the flexible scheduling that students in the middle school and the high school are using to sign up for different WIN sessions throughout the week to go get extra help in math or go do an extension project in the library. And it takes a lot of management to make sure it's running properly. So me and Courtney are doing a lot there. Infinite Campus is where all our student data, grades, assignments, all that fun stuff lives. At the middle school and high school, it's a big larger portion of a teacher's day-to-day interactions and students. And so there's training that we do for that. We support staff, new staff, or if they want to do something else, a lot of pull some spreadsheets, get some data, look at I have work with teachers that look at kids with failing grades, and let's try to see what we can do to help them there. So pulling that data to get a list of kids with failing grades so we can help them out, stuff like that. Schoology, I think we were here last year at this time talking about our LMS, our learning management system that students at the middle and high school use. And so if there's problems with that, or teachers teaching teachers how to use it, supporting staff with that. We're also looking at some AI implementation with our Schoology LMS as well, so trying to get that into teachers' hands as well. Brisk teaching, I think we talked about that last year as well, that we're teaching teachers different AI tools to help them out, make their lives a little bit, make things run a little bit more smoothly. We're also looking at new stuff. Probably this fall, we're gonna maybe do a small pilot looking at Google Classroom. We're already using Google a lot, and it's grown a lot as well, so that might be something that we're gonna do as well, and be on. Me and Courtney, we're gonna be in there messing around, trying to learn, make a bunch of mistakes, learn a bunch before we get it into teachers' hands. One thing that I did this year is a warrior shout out. There's a little example in there. It's a certificate, so the teacher fills out a form, and it has a drop down of all the kids' names, and if a kid did something that they should be proud of, they fill out this little form with the drop down of their names, and then it automatically creates that certificate there and emails it automatically to the parent's guardian. So it's happens in 5 seconds there, that this email with something positive that your student did shows up in your inbox, and got some good positive feedback from that. So that's a little project I tackled this year. I help out with we send out those honor roll certificates for high honor roll and honor roll to families as well. I help out with that. I've dabbled a little bit with some, it's not super techy, but do a little assembly planning. We do a little dodgeball, get some kids involved, use a little tech there to get it all set up. And then also next week, we're doing a post-forward testing relay. The kids have been testing a lot. Let's reward all their hard work. So next Friday, we're gonna do that. And hopefully that goes smoothly, because I've been working hard on that as well. And then lastly, just getting tech into teachers' hands and students' hands as much as possible. So if students are wanting to use a new tool, or teachers have an idea for a vision of a project, they'll come to us and say, how can I do this in my classroom? I kind of have half of an idea, but we'll help them bring that to fruition.
I'm going to pop in for just one moment. These are all really important things. I think, Alec, you may have Flexi Schedule is really huge for us.
Yeah.
And so if you, I mean, and I'm probably not doing it justice here, but the way to think about it is think of going to a conference and you've got to sign up for sections. It's not a conference where so imagine being the person behind the scenes that sets up the conference sign-up infrastructure. Basically, every week is a new conference for Alec and Courtney. So weekly, they're working with teachers to kind of set the stage, what's going to be offered this week? Which days is Miss Ensign opening up math sessions, and how many seats does she want this week? And is it kind of open, or is she inviting? Those conversations happen for the entire school on a weekly basis, and they get it all set up and they hit a button and because I see the emails, Flexi Schedule is open for the week. So, you know, again, these are all really critical, but Flexi Schedule, that's high impact and it's a big piece of work.
Yeah. So there's a lot of repeats from what Alec already went over here. I guess a few that I'll just kind of highlight would probably be at the high school, we're doing, instead of kind of the honor roll send out, we do an academic award presentation with all of our students where we show their pictures. And so that's one thing that I'm responsible for putting together. And then kind of connected to that within Infinite Campus, working with some of the secretaries and trying to extract that data and get it set up so that we're using some spreadsheets that are that are doing the calculating for us rather than us doing it by hand, and just trying to kind of expedite some of those things that we can maybe be a little more efficient on. And then just the research and exploration of some of our AI platforms, the privacy. So when we have a staff member that says, hey, I found this really great tool, can I use it? And so we're kind of the ones that are doing a little bit of the digging before it kind of goes to IT, like trying to vet, is this something that is worth it? Is it something that we already have? Is it something that maybe there's a better tool out there that we know of that we can kind of steer the teachers towards? And then trying to do a little bit more at the high school, at least I think Alec is too, with a little bit more of the push in with trying to get teachers to kind of using the technology in their classroom. So we have English doing some podcasting this year. We have some digital artwork projects in different areas, videos, blogs, green screens, AI type of projects, so that students are showing their learning in different ways rather than just paper and pencil all the time. And then I also spend some time working with teachers, kind of evaluating the authenticity of student work with, you know, is it, whether we're using Turnitin or Brisk Inspect writing tools, things like that, do we need to have a conversation with a student? How do we go about having that conversation with the student? So those are just kind of a few other things that maybe Alec didn't really say, because there is a lot of overlap.
I'm going to jump back in, and this is just talk about another big part of our job is offering PD to our other staff, and I think that is another. All of us do it, so we threw a slide together to kind of talk about it. That first one, monthly Genius Hours, it's like an hour-long after-school PD that teachers can sign up for, get points for, and the topics vary. I know a lot of times I'll go to a conference, learn stuff, bring it back, talk about it at the Genius Hour. So I know some of them do 3D printers, or kind of if it's iReady is new at the intermediate, and do some training around there. So it's a little school-based. It's also, if a teacher wants to come to us, they can learn, but if they have some problems, have some ideas, that's a good opportunity to work on those and bounce some ideas off of us and get some feedback on those. So we offer those in each of our buildings pretty regularly. We also do. So we show up at Learning Fest. Without us, I don't know. I looked up. I think last year we had 15 submissions to Learning Fest. I don't know how many offered.
Probably pretty close this year.
Yeah, and so like, Yeah, so that's like over one a person that we're averaging. So different, we're all covering all AI, we're covering WeVideo, all the different platforms. We do Schoology, we're doing Google. How could you use Google to help run your things a little more smoothly? So we really show up at Learning Fest and help run that as well. We also do a little bit like changes as needed training. So this year we had to switch from using Zoom for our conferences to Google Meet and a different sign-up process for teachers. So we all made some videos, some instructions to help get teachers trained on that. A little bit of Ames Web and Test Nav for Act 20. I think that's you guys.
That's at the elementary, yep. That was brand new and switched out from our STAR, the previous, as well as iReady going up to the intermediate. So a lot of different testing changes as well.
Yeah, a couple other ones. Boxlight is our display that a lot of teachers have. We're slowly kind of moving more to those district-wide. And there's a little bit of a learning curve to the first time you're using them. So I know Jake at Heritage, as he got a whole bunch of new ones this year. It was some fun going there, teaching teachers how to use those.
What is that?
Yeah,
It's replacing the smart boards.
Okay.
It's essentially a big TV display that is interactive, and that's what we've switched over instead of projectors with the
Okay,
smart.
thank you.
And the last one, paper cut, that printing, that is a new print way that teachers will print this year. It will help cut down on some waste and make things move a little bit more smoothly. And so it requires a little bit of training for teachers how to know it. So we're all in the process of teaching teachers how to use that, making sure they're all signed up for that as well. Some of our buildings, I think Amy, some others of us might as well send out like monthly or weekly tech tips for staff to say, hey, here's just one more thing to kind of think about. We also, at that new teacher orientation, we teach those new teachers how to use a lot of the platforms. So yeah, right when they come in, those first couple days, we come in and teach them about the platforms. We're also a great support for them throughout the year, and also substitute teachers. We do a little tech training with them as well.
So one big part of our role, especially for the elementary, is administering a lot of the task proctoring. So any kids that were gone or missed school, they come to us and we help them. So that does, like Alec was saying before, it takes a lot of time to do the makeups and the one-on-one testing or small groups. So just kind of, really that's been a big part of our role when we're not teaching in the classroom. We also, for the elementary, do a live stream music concert, and I know Amy did that this year as well. So the live streaming, we do that at our schools, and then a lot of the video creation. So right now we're working on the retirement videos and Teacher of the Year videos. So, and then if our principals or the committees at our school ask us to create videos on school expectations, we also take on that. So video creation is part of our job as well. And then we also
do everything.
Yeah.
We're very busy.
Yeah. We also do the websites for each of our schools, and I also do summer school and the 4K website. So pass it on to you.
We also take a look at the Go Guardian management, so that is probably more 5 through 12. But looking at, our students using things appropriately, helping teachers set up scenes that maybe limit or block websites for students so that they're staying on task during class. And so we're kind of the teacher support for that. And we're also looking at rolling out kind of a parent side. So when kids aren't in school and we don't have some of those limitations on their devices because they're not in class, what kind of things can families do while the kids are at home on their school device.
Is it managed at the device level, or is it a firewall kind of?
Both. Yeah, so there's a firewall, but there's also, it's actually by their OU, or what group they're in. They have different limitations, and then also the teachers can set up even more, so we can limit them.
And then now with the new parent side of things too, that would also bridge into the family. So if the parents want to control, they don't want their kids on, what time they can be on, or some of the scenes they can create similar to what we do, to choose what things are available.
Thank you.
Most of us are a member of our safety team in our buildings in case there's, ever any kind of safety issue that we need help with technology, communications, things like that. Not sure if everybody is, but Amy helps with our new teacher advisors to help kind of bridge the new teachers, getting them set up so that they're ready for their tech. Daily tech support from teachers, from students, and then also, our daily sub support. So checking in with our substitute teachers every day, making sure that they are all set up with the technology that they have or that they need for the day. They're able to log into things. And then also our long-term substitute teachers. So we're responsible for kind of getting them set up and going, and when they get there into that role. And then our summer school tech support. So we have, I think Jake is on that this year. So we've got some people that can help with technology and support over the summer school period.
So that's kind of where we're at right now, but going forward, we're still going to be focusing, and you've heard that in the last presentation, on continuing to integrate that AI in our lessons. We're going to try and work on that going 7-12, because right now we don't have access to all the kids in one class at one time. So figuring out ways to do that. I know one of the groups over the summer is looking into how can we do some bell ringer activities to bring some of that in and get more of those kids exposed to some of those AI topics as well. As Amy mentioned in the beginning, we're still on the track of building. We haven't quite got 5 years yet of our curriculum, so we're kind of moving things up and just adjusting to make sure that all the kids now have the skills moved up as they go. And then just continuing to collaborate with teachers as we go and whatever projects come up. So we appreciate you listening. I know we probably went over just a little bit on our time, but if you have any questions, I know we had a lot, but any other questions that you have at this point, you can feel free to ask, and we are always available to ask even after.
All right, so first of all, I'm exhausted
Yeah.
from all that you guys do. Secondly, I don't think the viewers at home can see it, but there's this electrical buzz above these guys. They're definitely passionate about what they do, and I'm so appreciative of the massive work that you do for our kids, our staff, and support staff. It's amazing, so thank you for that. Question I have for, and I know it's not supposed to be AI today, but
that's fine.
Each of you did talk a little bit about where you bring in AI. At what point do the students start using AI for their ELA lessons or their social studies lessons? Does that begin at the intermediate school, or is that more at a middle school level? Where does that begin?
So there are some AI things that we purchased, like Brisk and Brisk Boost you could use. There's also this one called Read Write something.
Yeah, it's Read Write.
Read Write, where kids can write something and then anonymously post, and the kids can vote on which one they like and why, and then they can go back and revise. So there is some use of that in ELA and social studies, but there's like AI and stuff that you don't even think about. Like there's one called Animate My Voice. So sometimes kids who are shy don't want to record themselves, they'll record their voice, and then there's this cartoon character that will animate their voice. So we're integrating AI usage all the way down. I mean, you guys do quick draw and things like that. It's not just like the ChatGPT kind of stuff. We're not really.
And we have kind of that limitation because a lot of these tools the kids are under 18 already, they can't use it, and some of them restricted to 16. So it just depends, but we're hoping that building it up and them understanding what it is, and when they see it, they'll recognize what AI is. So by the time they get to that 13 level and they start using some of those additional tools in middle school and high school, they'll know what that is.
I just want to piggyback on that. So I mean, AI, like Amy said, is present in a lot of little ways. We have some activities that are very much under the teacher's control about kind of what the boundaries are. So they're kind of narrow, where kids might be using an AI tool. But the idea of using AI kind of open-ended to help on a project is not something we do right now. For the reasons that Cassie mentioned, we also need to come up with kind of an instructional framework. So there's both an instructional framework piece that needs to get worked on, and there's a permissions work. And actually, you know, when in the part that Courtney and Alec mentioned about the Google Classroom pilot, you know, currently we use Google for a lot of things, but we use Google for Education Workspace at the free level. There are 3 tiers of Google. One's free, one's intermediate, one's more premium. And one thing, so the reason we're looking at Google Classroom is really part of a larger conversation about that we in CNI are having with Rick, with teacher input. Ed tech specialists are really key in that, around, you know, right now we do a lot with Google at the free level, and we buy Brisk, and we buy Schoology, and we buy some different pieces. Is there, down the road, are there ways to consolidate, pay more for Google, but consolidate on Google and get more simplicity for IT management, more simplicity for the teacher and student, and some cost savings? It doesn't mean we have a preconceived notion we're going to end up with Google, but it's a question we have to ask. And the other thing relative to what Cassie just said is right now, for very clear reasons, aside from us needing to have an instructional framework, AI is a very powerful tool. We don't let 8-year-olds drive cars. I mean, we'll see where robocars go down the road, but you're not seeing 8-year-olds. I mean, so there are very reasonable age restrictions on general purpose AI today. However, Google for Education Workspace, you know, when students, and you saw it, we have Goal Guardian, and the way students use Google and Google Education Workspace, we have the ability to set the parameters on that in management, versus say what you at home could do with your personal Google Workspace. When a kid signed in with their Workspace account, they have some restrictions. And so because of that capability, Google is signaling very clearly they are going to make Gemini for Education, Gemini being Google's AI model, available below 18, depending on what the school decides is appropriate. So that's another factor that is influencing our desire to look at these advanced Google features, because that may allow us to set up a more managed availability of more general purpose AI for students, where it fits our instructional framework for that, which we are still working on. So, I mean, that Google Classroom trial is just one of many things, but it does relate into trying to get some simplicity, some cost efficiencies, and maybe better ways to manage AI rollout in the future.
Any other questions for today? Like I said, you can reach out anytime. But.
Very, very impressive. Thank you.
And I want to close, you know, with something that I said at the beginning. I mean, there are a lot of great teachers throughout Wisconsin and throughout the United States generally. There have always been kind of those tech innovators. And one reason why a lot of folks go into the role that these 6 professional educators are in is because when they were in the classroom, they were those tech innovators. But in a lot of districts, the consistency for children is not there. If you've got Alec for math, or you've got Amy for 6th grade, your child is going to get some things that they might not get with another teacher. And so, you know, when you think about everything that's happening, what our community, what the children in our community get for that is they get a greater guarantee of consistency and access. So it doesn't depend on having that one special or 2 special teachers in the school. You know, we buy one-to-one hardware for kids. We need to make sure that's really playing out pretty much in a one-to-one manner for all of our children. And I think that's the same thing for teachers too. You've always had that innovative teacher, but you know, teachers are very busy. They have a lot of responsibilities. I mean, if I am coaching softball, how much time do I have to be investigating this new technology that could do something. So again, what we get for having this amazing team is we get more innovation and we get more consistency around this. And not every place can resource that in our state. And the price they pay is less innovation, and they get a lot more inconsistency, and it depends a lot on who your child has, a lot, versus just in general, all the children at the school have access to something that, as you think about the world we live in, we know these are skills our kids have to have. So again, just want to, tremendous presentation by the group. But again, I want to thank you as a board, and if the community's watching, thank you to the community for investing in these kinds of resources for our educators, and most importantly, for our children.
So we have one tech specialist at each group.
Yes. And we are so grateful because you guys pay for us to go to tech conference. Each of us go to different ones. And whenever I go to other ones, I hear of teachers like in Madison, there's an ed tech specialist for 3 buildings, and I'm like, there's no way that they can have the impact that we're having in each of our buildings because they are spread so thin. So one, I appreciate you sending us to these conferences so we can learn more and get better and bring back great stuff to our staff. But also, this is an amazing team to work with, and to be able to be in every building is amazing. So we're very, very lucky.
But do you have, like, I'm just looking at Courtney, you have a huge job.
Yeah.
I mean, you all have a huge job.
Yeah,
but
like big population.
Do you have a big
Yeah.
population of both big kids and adults? And do you have an assistant, or do you have somebody that?
No, I mean, a little bit different at the high school. We do have the testing coordinator, so that that piece is not on my plate like it is with the rest of these.
That's good.
And so that frees up me a little bit more to do some of these other
That
things.
helps, because that is a huge, at the high school,
Yeah.
that is just huge.
Well, it's been helpful too, like she said, as a team. So like when we switched from Zoom to Google Meet, it was, okay, we need some videos made. We can help out at that for the high school. We can make different things. So within our own team, even though it's not
Good.
necessarily our level, we can pull from those resources as well for things that we need, so.
Fabulous.
And like when Jake's whole building got box lights, and then my building started to get box lights, and then I could, lean on Jake a little bit, ask him questions. We kind of could explore together a little bit, so
Yeah.
it's,
Good.
you still get that
TNT.
collaboration.
TNT.
Well, it's clear that you guys clearly do collaborate, and it's to the benefit of the kids again. And just looking at your vision where you're looking about how to have your vertical skill set. So, AI comes in all at once. You each have to teach some of it, but so now when they're a sophomore, what do you teach them differently than when they were in 7th grade? And that collaboration is clearly present from your presentation and all the work you're doing. And again, greatly appreciate that.
This is not probably a curriculum thing, but it is a budgetary thing. We have a tech assistant in each of our buildings, but they're part-time. And that is, I was one of the only ones who had a full-time tech assistant in my building for years. And this year she's halfway in my building, half at Jake's. And it has impacted my job, and it's impacting the kids. So it's a pay thing, I think. I mean, to get paid for that job as a tech assistant, it's not a high-paying job,
Right.
but it's a highly skilled job. So that's just a little plug. We need more tech assistants full-time.
Because they kind of, the way that we kind of split it, we're all kind of like triaging of what happens, but we tend to be more on the curriculum side of things and how technology is used within the classroom with the kids, whereas the tech assistants ideally would be more on the hardware side. The smartboard needs to be connected, it's not working, and we do
Screen
bridge that
program.
gap, but that's kind of where that separation would be, and we kind of have to bridge it together just because there are days where they're not there, and communicate that.
So is it kind of a part-time all the way down the line?
Yeah.
We all have part-time.
I don't know.
Except the high school.
No,
The high school
I
has
think
both.
I have a half-time, yeah.
Yeah.
And you just have the knocks.
And then we have the knock, so.
You have spillover,
So
but it's not the same.
Yeah, which makes sense because it's housed in the bigger building too, and
So that's a challenge. I mean, it's been a big challenge for me because I was spoiled.
yeah.
Now I have to share with Jake. And she's amazing, so, yeah.
Well, anyways, thank you so much for having us today.
Thank you.
Thank
you.
Again, reach out anytime if you have any questions or need anything.
Have a good night.
Thank you. Enjoy the weather.
Okay, so the end game, future agendas and meetings. And, in talking with Dr. Brown, there's something I'd had on here before that I took off, and it does need to go back on. So for the May meeting, which again, we really aren't going to be able to schedule until we hit post-reorg.
Right.
But I will take a moment to acknowledge that for sure, Katie won't be on the committee. And Katie, I want to appreciate you for being an awesomely engaged and great contributor to the work of the curriculum committee in your time on the committee, and you'll certainly be missed. What do we have coming up in May? Some routine stuff, your annual testing and assessment schedule. That's something we have to do. You'll get that in May. Something that we've been talking about bringing forward in the spring will be coming in May. We'll have our spring assessment data and as much of our intervention trends as we can pull out from Next Path, which will be some for sure, for Tier 2 and Tier 3. We also going to be having some of our instructional coaches in from some of our older grades to talk about our Elevate program, which we've been in for a few years, but we haven't really given you a comprehensive presentation on. So I think we're due to do that, so that'll be coming in. The other thing that's not on here, but Dr. Brown has been in conversations with you in different meetings about the academic goal. And when Amy and I were meeting with her earlier this week, she did express that she felt it was time to bring that goal in to this committee for some conversation, then hopefully a recommendation to the larger board. So I had a reference to that. Last time we met, I had taken it out, and then after I'd taken it out, I realized I shouldn't have taken it out. So it's going to be part of the May agenda too.
That's good. Because you'd like those goals by July, kind of from.
To help guide the school improvement work, absolutely.
All right.
And Katie, I can't thank you enough. You have been a wonderful contributor and really gave so much of your passion to this. We're going to miss you, but you can come to the May meeting if you like, and any other ones too.
Okay, thank you.
The public's always welcome.
May meeting.
Oh, she is?
Yeah, she told me this morning, she goes, I'm going to come to the May meeting, I just won't want to.
Judy,
Yeah, Judy is.
will there be cake?
She's in charge.
So, with that, we need a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you all.
Thank
And
you.
Dawn, thank you for sitting in. Hopefully you learned a lot.
I did, yeah.
So-
Yeah.
I know they're having, sorry, waiting for that